Have you ever think why the bullet produces this amount of sound in real time? And the latest Royal Enfield bikes also producing this kind of sound, which makes an environment attracted towards bike rider. And we are going to see what is the reason behind it in this video. The main concept behind why the sound is producing in Royal Enfield and the bullet, the old ancient vintage bullets, as you know, you have seen in the YouTubes and some social medias, it produces a large amount of sound. The basic reasons, we are going to see the basic fundamental reasons, what are the behind it. So the basic reasons are, there's a long stroke. If you talk about the bullet, the Royal Enfield, which produces a large amount of sound, it has a large stroke from the movement from suction stroke to the compression stroke. It produces it has a long duration, it's a long stroke. So due to this, if it compresses with a high amount of pressure, it produces a very heavy depth, a louder sound. And also the exhaust design, it's a very important thing for if you are talking about the sound which is producing from the bikes, especially in Royal Enfield and the old bullets. So the exhaust design does not have any kind of restriction. So if we talk, first we will talk about the vintage bullets. In vintage bullets, there is no restriction. So the amount of sound which is producing during the time the bikes was very high. There is a very concept, because the restrictions means, what are the restrictions in current scenario is catalytic converter and some NOx and some carbon monoxide. To reduce these kind of emissions, we are using some restriction devices like this, and also we are using some silencers in mufflers. And due to this design, and also in design approach, if you talk about the silencer which is used in many of the vehicles, there is some plate or some restricted design plate will be there inside the muffler cut section. You can able to see there is a restriction plate, so that the amount of sound which is producing from the internal combustion engine, it will be reflected back. So the amount of sound will also be getting reduced. So if you are not using the restriction, the amount of sound will be traveled from one end to the another end easily. So the amount of sound which is produces in the Royal Enfield and the old vintage bullets is very high. And another important thing is it's a single cylinder. So many of the bikes are in many bikes nowadays is coming as dual cylinders. So like many number of bikes having dual cylinders, but in some of the Royal Enfield you can able to see there is only one cylinder. So there is a long stroke and one cylinder, and the design structure, so the muffler design structure. Due to these reasons, the amount of sound which is produced from the Royal Enfield bike was very high. So that is a very important thing when compared to the other bikes. If you talk about the other bikes, the stroke will be very less, and also the muffler design will be varying from one bike to another bike. If you see the normal two-wheeler scooties and the normal bikes, whatever used for the family, we are considered about the family bikes. So it does not having any kind of this kind of long stroke. So this is a very important thing. And the next question is sound depends on the cc. Cc means the cubic capacity of the cylinder. So this is a very important thing. So it depends on the cubic capacity, whatever we are driving the bike in real time. So if the cubic capacity increases from one cubic capacity to another cubic capacity, then the sound will be very deeper. That is a very important thing. And the next question I am asking to you is this is one of the concept we have seen in this video. And the next question I am asking you is in BS-6. BS-6 is a bar stage 6. In bar stage 6, why there is no fuel on off like a throttle valve? There is no fuel on off throttle valve in a BS-6. Recent vehicles, I have a Sign 125 bike, which is one of the latest model in bar stage 6. It does not have any fuel on off throttle. Before 10 years, if you buy 10 to 15 years, if you buy a bike now, there is some fuel on off throttle valve. That is one throttle valve. So now it is not there. So can you think what is the reason behind it? In BS4 we have a throttle fuel on off valve. If you see the bike, after injecting the petrol inside the bike, inside the fuel tank, there's a valve, on off fuel valve. In nowadays also many of the bikes having, but it is a old BS4 vehicles. So in current scenario BS6, there is no fuel on off valve. So can you think the reason? If you pause the video and post the answer in comment also, it will be very useful for us and for the other members who are all watching in this video. The reason behind it is the vintage bikes, they use the carburetor. The carburetor means it mix the air and the fuel which is coming from the fuel tank. It's one of the plays a crucial role in this bike. So nowadays they are converted from carburetor into fuel injector. So if you use the carburetor, it produces more amount of pollution. It is very one important thing. The mixture ratio, it's not that much efficient when compared to the fuel injector. So nowadays they are using a fuel injector with the help of the sensors and the latest technology advancements. So if you use a fuel injector, it will be more useful for us. So no need to make any on-off valve, whatever you are seeing in the BS4 vehicles. So directly we are jumping from BS4 to BS6. That is a very important thing. So this is a reason which is behind why we are not having a throttle valve in the BS6 vehicles. So in this video we have seen two concepts: why the sound which is producing in the Royal Enfield and the Bullet or any kind of vehicles which produces large amount of sound. In recent days, many of the members are using TS50 bikes also having some amount of sound. So they implement this kind of physics in this. So the amount of sound is also produces very high. So in this, for more information, subscribe, like and share this video. Thank you.